Hello, this is Peaceful Anarchism on the Voluntary Virtues Network every Thursday at 1 p.m. And you could also find me on the Conscious Resistance YouTube channel and Conscious Resistance website. So today we have Benny Wills, who is the co-creator of Joy Camp YouTube channel and is a truth-telling comedian. So, Benny,
Yeah.
so tell me how you got into all of this, I guess, poking fun at current events with comedy.
Sure. Well, let's see. Um, Starting at a very young age, I loved being a performer. I decided that's what I wanted to do with my life when I was 4 years old. I just loved making people laugh and entertainment in general. And at a certain point in my development, I became very aware of, I guess, lies I was being told about the world we're living in and about history, and then. Um, I don't know. And then I struggled with it for a long time, not knowing what to do because I wanted to participate in, help in the awakening of the planet. But activism didn't feel right for me. And meanwhile, I was still studying to be a professional actor. And then one day, Kevin, who's the other creator of Joy Camp with me, we made a video called Conspiracy Theorist PSA, which was making fun of the 1950s propaganda public service announcements. And we realized like immediately that that's what our purpose was. We were blending our sense of humor with our ability to make films and perform, entertain with the knowledge that we had been accruing and understanding. And so we realized that the truth movement, quote unquote truth movement, whatever you want to call it, lacked a sense of humor big time. And rightfully so, because it's really serious stuff, obviously, like dealing with, a global conspiracy and debt-based slavery. Like, that's not funny. But Kevin and I were always able to laugh, like, as our way of release with each other. And we realized how significant that was and how this movement really needed some place for people to go to not only let off steam, but also for people who are already awake to share with their friends who they had been having trouble communicating with, because when people are laughing, they're much more willing to listen. So we realized how absolutely important what we could do, what we were doing could be. So that's what happened. Long story short, it was just a marrying of all worlds, and it all synced up at the right time.
So who are your influences like was there any books that you read or like any comedians or any personalities that really influenced you to
Yeah, man,
pursue
that's a
this?
great question, and I never get I never get all my influences in one answer because there's so many. But of course, George Carlin and Bill Hicks were huge for me and for Kevin. And then growing up, I mean, I grew up with The Simpsons. Simpsons were a huge influence on our sense of humor, both of us. And then sketch comedy like Monty Python and Kids in the Hall and groups like that, as well as the playwrights that I'm a student of the theater. Like I studied theater for 10 years and did 55 plays in a row before I started to be a
Wow.
truth comedian, so to speak. So people like Shakespeare, huge influence on me, and just the levels that he was able to reach, and like the layered, man, this brilliant writing, as well as my personal favorite, Samuel Beckett, playwright, huge influence on me, nihilist, you know, but his theme was always at the end of the day, like, what else do you have but laughter? And that was a huge influence on me. So yeah, those are my primary influences.
Awesome, yeah, and I also noticed I think on the Joy Camp about section you guys have the quote by Oscar Wilde,
Oh, right.
right? That's
If you want to tell people the truth, make them laugh. Otherwise, they'll kill you. Yeah,
yeah. I
really.
I tell that to everybody I meet, and which is one of the reasons why, in my articles I'm always posting political cartoons, and in my even in my video podcast where I'm just talking, I'm trying to make it as humorous as possible, because yeah, you're right. These are dark and gloomy topics that can get easily depressing for people. And what's the use of that? Like if we're just depressing people, that's
Yeah,
counterproductive, right?
exactly. And people who aren't willing to listen to this information or listen to the counter point of view, they won't. No matter how loud you yell, they're not going to listen. But when you make them laugh, they're all their defenses go down. Their walls are immediately broken, and they are more receptive to the information.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's
Yeah.
that's one thing I realized when I studied comedy. Like took a comedy class with my brother. Like what was that 4 years ago, and I think it was like an 8 week comedy class, and it was wonderful. I learned it's amazing how powerful comedy can be when you're talking to complete strangers. That they can trust you if you can make them laugh, right?
Yeah,
You have their
absolutely.
trust.
Well, we had oh gosh, I should really memorize this one comment we had once because it sums up what we do so well. A woman commented once on a video. Finally something I can post on my Facebook wall without being attacked by my friends, and that about sums up everything that we're striving to achieve with Joy Camp and what we're already achieving. I mean, that's the goal. Something that people we can bridge the gap between people who don't want to listen.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult. It's difficult as it is to talk to people about this stuff. So if you can edge in there some jokes every once in a while, yeah, it definitely makes the. I think there's a proverb that says if you're gonna send an arrow through the heart, make sure you tip it with honey first.
Mm, yeah,
Right?
that's good. Well, yeah, and there's also an element of finesse. I mean, because when I was going through my like massive download of information, awakening, I was not knowing how to communicate with people, and because it felt so important to me, I was so passionate in the conversations I was getting into, and I was getting into a lot of arguments, and I couldn't believe that people didn't want to hear what I had to say. So having to like rethink and reevaluate how to communicate. People, for whatever reason, don't like being taught anything by another individual. They don't want it's an ego thing. Like people don't want you to replace the information that they hold sacred. They want to feel like they're doing it on their own. So what we try to do with Joy Camp also is not get preachy. We don't want to tell you like, hey, this is how we feel about this issue. We're just showing you that it's an issue,
Mhm.
so that hopefully the person who's receiving the information, who's watching the video and laughing, will take it and laugh and then look it up on their own. So if we make a video about chemtrails, for instance, we're just calling attention to chemtrails. We're not saying necessarily that this is, that they are what they are, this one horrible bad thing. We're just presenting the issue so that they hopefully will do their own research and come up with their own conclusions.
Yeah, so you're basically providing the impetus for a person to go out and investigate themselves, right?
Right, exactly. We're giving it to them on a platter, saying other people aren't going to want to touch this subject, but we're touching it, and we want you to know about it, and now come up with your own, idea and opinion and conclusion, or whatever about it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well said. I mean, yeah, a lot of these topics can be taboo. Like you can see that when you approach, I think my wife always yells at me whenever we have a dinner with family. She says two things you don't talk about at dinner: politics, religion. Right?
Right. The two things that we probably need to talk about the most.
Yeah.
You know.
Because everybody gets so incensed and angry when you talk about those things, but perhaps that anger is as a result of ignorance. They really don't understand what's going on, and so they just get angry. It's the Muslims. The Muslims they're the ones that are taking away our freedom. It's
Ay,
the
ay, ay, that mindset.
it's the Mexicans. The Mexican immigrants are coming in here stealing our jobs.
Yeah, it's like no, it's actually the power structure telling you to hate your neighbors, teaching us to be afraid of each other.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
the ones we're all getting screwed by the same master.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, the way I approach these conversations is I don't really tell people. Like I remember you said you don't like labels, right? So
Yeah.
so I would consider myself an anarchist, voluntarist, or an anarcho-capitalist, or anything like that. But when you say those things, for most people, it doesn't mean anything except the word anarchist. That can provoke a lot of emotional baggage coming out of people. So
Yeah.
usually, the way I broach these topics is I talk about economics because that is something that most people can relate to, right? It's like
Right.
if you're a business owner, you're going to be affected by certain laws and regulations, right? You're going to be affected by the increase in the money supply, right? So, what is the Federal Reserve? What is its function, right? How many people know what the Federal Reserve is, right?
Hmm.
So that's the approach that I take it. you know,
Absolutely.
and if you can come at it from comedy, even better.
Yeah, and I mean, first of all, I think that my day-to-day interactions, my one-on-one encounters, are just as significant in healing the planet as my videos are. I mean, if I'm not walking my own talk, so to speak, then I'm not really helping anything. And when it comes to that, like I don't really necessarily use comedy. I just use kindness and I ask questions and I find that itch in a person because everybody has an itch. Everybody feels like they're getting screwed by the system in some way. So my goal is in a kind way and in a lighthearted and sometimes funny, I suppose, charming way, get them to understand that that itch is connected to a much larger overall problem. You
Hmm.
know, every little thing that's screwing an individual is connected to a larger problem, right? Because the system itself is flawed, and that's to me just as significant. That art of communication is just as important as the videos that I make.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I realized like I was thinking about if let's say there was some kind of economic collapse, right, and the power structure just falls and chaos for a short moment, what's going to happen, and I think about what skills do I have that are valuable in a
Mm,
society, like do I have valuable skills to offer people, right? Because I guess if you're working for the IRS, you don't really say you have valuable skills to offer
yeah,
people,
right. Yeah,
right? So I think being able to make people laugh is a timeless skill. Everybody, people always want to laugh, right? They always want, there's never going to be a time where people are not going to want to laugh, right?
yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. Well,
People flood into, comedy clubs Friday night, Saturday night after a hard week of work, and it's just great atmosphere because people come together and with just they just want to laugh. That's it. It's very simple, and it's a
yeah, they want to
beautiful.
relax, have a good time, and feel like they're a part of a larger group that's also with a common goal to have fun and
Yeah.
share, like you said, laughter, and that sort of pursuit is the only pursuit really that's like I don't know. That's what we all want. That's what everybody wants. Money is just something they've told us we want. But what we really want is just to feel good and have fun and, you know, connect with other people and to laugh and to love and to be listened to and be touched and all that. Like that's what's important in life. Not who has the most money, so who can buy and own the most stuff. Like that's what we've been taught. But that won't fill the void in your soul, no matter how much you acquire, no matter how much stuff you buy, cars you drive.
Hmm.
You're still gonna want to be loved.
Yeah, politics to me is the art of dividing people, based on fear, right? Fear
Sweet.
fear of your neighbor, like fear, be afraid of the rich people, be afraid of the poor people, be afraid of the black people, white people,
Right.
It's
Yep.
always some other group of people that we should fear
Right.
that are causing all the problems, right?
Yeah. Divide and conquer. Absolutely.
And so and when you're focusing on other people, it's easy to become distracted at the root cause, because right, they're considered the branches, right? As
Mhm.
Henry David Thoreau, he said, for 1,000 people hacking at the branches, there's one hacking at the root.
And the root is what needs to be hacked.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And,
Yeah.
and and what's crazy is that those people who call attention to the root problem are usually ostracized or vilified by their peers
Ah,
for doing so.
yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Even if you're, what is that quote? Even if you're a minority of one, the truth is still the truth.
Gandhi. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's also that other one, the three phases of truth.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's also Gandhi, or
Is
or,
it?
or Schopenhauer. Yeah.
Yeah,
First.
Schopenhauer, that's what it is. All truth passes through three stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed, and third is it is accepted as self-evident. I mean, that's exactly what it is. There's resistance at first, but then people will come along. They will get it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just hard
Yeah.
for people to let go of their BS, their belief systems.
Yeah, what's funny about societal change is that it doesn't even take like a large majority of the population to critically think and analyze this stuff for there to be massive change, right? Because it's always a small percentage of people, 10%, maybe max 20% of really passionate thinkers that are willing to, sacrifice stuff to change the course of human history, and then everyone else who doesn't really want to think about this stuff just goes along for the ride, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like a trend. I mean, first of all, I think that majority of people are good people. They're good. Whether or not they're awake or not, they're still decent, good people. They want the same things that everybody wants. They want to feel happy and secure and happy and loved and all these things we just talked about. Evil is an anomaly, but people are just misled. People are right now stuck in a rhythm, a routine of following these rules that are basically being given to us by evil forces. All they need is to have their focus shift from that to good leadership, or something along those lines, the good energy, let's say, and everyone in the paradigm shift. They don't need to necessarily wake up. They just need to they're looking left right now. They need to look right, and then everything changes, like the wind, like the wind changing direction. I really feel that. You know?
I fundamentally believe also that people are, good-natured. When people go out to vote, they're voting because they want people to be good, right? When they vote to pass a law or regulation, they want companies to act in a good way. Who actually votes for a legislation that produces more, oil destruction in the Amazon rainforest? Nobody, right? So we all have this desire to improve the world. The problem is, what do you do? What methods do you use to after that? To try to implement that, right? And if you're using government, the most aggressive, powerful, violent institution that exists on the planet.
Yeah, right. Obviously, we have to stop asking for change from within, because it's not going to happen. I mean, it's a structure that's built on corruption. You can't. It's inherently bad. You cannot get that to change. It has to start from outside of that.
Yeah, there's a quote that I like, which is sending in a good man to reform the state is like sending in a virgin to reform the whorehouse.
Yeah. Well, I think that was my, and I mean, I don't know what kind of audience you have, and I don't know if people take this how you will, but like that was my whole problem with that Occupy movement a few years ago, is while people's hearts were in the right places, right? But they were sitting there, they were occupying space, asking for the people who make the rules and enforce the rules to change the rules. So they're saying, we are upset, we are pissed off, but we want you to fix it for us. You who's already screwing us. That kind of movement's dead in the water, because people they're basically, they don't want to take the actual responsibility of saying, you know what, you're out now. You're out as leader. You have failed us. You were supposed to be a public servant, and you were failing us, so you're out. But instead, they're saying, "Hey, you're fucking us over." I'm sorry, I don't know if I can say
right. No problem.
Screwing us over. You're screwing us. But can you now change that? Can you just be a nice person now? And that doesn't change anything. Like I said, the system is corrupt. It must come from the people. The change must come from the people.
But then there's those people that say, we are the government. We elect these people, right? So they're representing us, so they are us, right? So therefore, by that logic, the Jews that were killed in the Holocaust committed suicide, right? Because they are the government, right?
I don't know if I can get my mind around that.
If you follow that logic to its conclusion, if there is no separation between us and government, then whatever government does has been sanctioned by the people, right? If a police officer beats a person senseless for holding a leaf, then that we consented to that because we are government. If the banks bail out, if the government bails out the banks, trillions of dollars with stolen taxpayer money, we did that, right? It wasn't the bureaucrats, it wasn't the politicians. We did that, which is fundamentally flawed. We did not do that. Of course, we did not do that. Like, we pressed a button and voted for a guy to go in there, and after he went in, there is absolutely no accountability after that. We have no say in the laws or regulations, right?
Yeah, I mean, define apathy, right? I mean, because I don't vote, and whenever I go to the grocery store or something during voting season, and they're trying to get me to register, and I say I don't vote, I get met with such like offended responses, and they're like, "Oh, well, how's apathy working out for you?" I'm like, you calling me apathetic because you're deciding to vote one day out of the year. You're putting one day out of 365 days to say, I'm going to make a difference today. But change has to come every day. You know, you have to be working towards something. And you're calling me apathetic? Me who's actually trying to make a difference, but yet because I'm not voting in this corrupt system, somehow I'm apathetic. You know,
It's like
it's crazy. Crazy.
it's like if you're playing somebody in Monopoly, right? And they're printing their own money constantly. Everyone else can't, right? One person can print their own money. Would you continue to play with them? Or
That's a great point. That's a great point.
you
And
know,
that's the system we're living in. Right.
how can you possibly compete with an entity that can just print up billions of dollars at will
Yep.
and obtain the value from that money by stealing it from those people that already possess other currency?
Right.
How do you
Yeah.
compete with that?
It's just madness. Yeah, exactly. It's a great point. It's just madness. They're creating. Yeah, there's no such thing as money. It's just numbers on a screen. It's not even real anymore.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve is how I actually got into all this stuff. I started researching about that and precious metals, and learning about the economy that way and the history of the Federal Reserve, how it got started and everything. And it's
Hmm.
really fascinating, because when you really study the Federal Reserve, it's kind of chilling, to say the least.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
just think about it. The Federal Reserve was created to protect the value of the currency, right? And so from 1913 until today, currency has been destroyed. The value of it has been destroyed at least 98%, right? So how well is it doing protecting the value of the currency?
I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's so, I mean, it's so inherently corrupt at every level, and it's so obvious. That's what's something I always struggle with is how obvious it all is. And once you get to a certain point, I feel like I'm like Neo in the Matrix. Like I just see it now. I just see the tactics and I see the game being played. And to me, it's so, not only is it obvious, it's like insultingly obvious. It's like they know I know. It's like they know I can see it, but yet everybody else, there's like no in between. It's like you either see it or you don't. There's like no middle ground.
Hmm.
That's like, if I could capture that in a video, that would be amazing, because that's something that baffles me. Like that difference. You either see it or you don't see it.
Yeah, I think when people start learning about this stuff, there's first it's like you're shocked, right, at what you just found out, and then you're kind of fearful that what is this huge overarching government that can create any law at will, can create any amount of money at will, and can violate anybody's civil liberties at will, confiscate anybody's home, anybody's savings at will. That's what we have to live under, and so it's understandable for people to be fearful and fear the apocalypse, economic collapse, and when everything gets destroyed, what are we going to do? We're going to just everything's going to descend to chaos. It's going to be mayhem and everything, and it's just easy to be fearful. So, and I think the next step after that is you come out of that and you realize that no, it doesn't have to be like that, right? People are still good, even though if there's no government, people are still going to trade, people are still going to raise their kids, and still going to, go on with their lives.
Right, life will go on.
It just means that there's not going to be a leech on our backs.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to take some self-responsibility. Like, you're not gonna be able to just go to the grocery store and take food for granted. You're gonna have to realize that food comes from a source, and it has to do with cycles. And you can't just. That's why people are afraid of the apocalypse, is because they don't know how to live. We're so detached from nature and reality. Like, everything works in cycles, and we are so removed from that. We're afraid of what it would be like to not have this system that provides these things for us.
And the other thing that my wife was fearful when I was studying this stuff and telling her, first thing she said was, don't write about it, don't talk about it, don't post videos about it, because the government is gonna watch you and track you down, and nasty things are gonna happen to us. And she's like, Monica's like, we have kids, we have our family members, you can't jeopardize us, don't talk about this stuff online. So did you go through a similar fear like that? Were you
Yeah, of
afraid
course.
to
Of
speak
course.
out?
Every time I have a fear like that, I think, okay, I've been programmed to be afraid. Like, a fear is what we're supposed to feel,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to like check myself every time I have that fear, because I'm thinking, okay, this fear isn't mine. Like, this is what I'm supposed to feel, to be afraid of the system. But I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, like this awakening, or whatever you want to call it, is happening at the same rate as sort of like the madness on the other side. Like it's like a race to the finish. Like this is unstoppable at this point. This is why someone like David Cameron is speaking in front of the United Nations saying conspiracy theorists need to be dealt with as harshly as ISIS. Like that's a
Ooh.
terrifying thing for him to say,
Yeah.
but that just shows how afraid they are of us.
Mm-hmm.
This is unstoppable at this point. We are like it's like a mudslide or an avalanche. It's just built. It's just gaining momentum as it goes down. And you know, if we decide to be afraid now, then we're letting them win, and we have to just stay diligent. I mean, but to answer your question, yes, I have been afraid before. I mean, as times we release a video or something, and we're like, wow, we're going there. But then at the end of the day, it's also like, hey, it's also just a funny video, and it is what it is, and it's important. I mean, I'd rather live my life with integrity, you know, than to say I was too afraid to say anything. So I feel like I want to look back on my life and say I did the best I possibly could with the time that I had and the resources available. And I just remind myself of that whenever I get afraid, because fear is the enemy.
Yeah, yeah, and I also think about, my kids, and if I were to not speak out and self-censor, what kind of lesson am I teaching them? What kind of message am I sending, right? To be afraid of those
Right.
who have the guns, right? Those in authority. Be afraid of those people that can hurt you.
And I mean, one of the next big steps is somehow reaching the ones who hold the guns for the criminals. I mean, the police and the soldiers, they're the ones who would actually carry out this sort of brutality, and they're in our boat. You know, they're in the 99%. They're just the front, but they're in our boat. If we can reach them, game over. Like everything changes. If they remember that they're people and they're in debt just like everybody else, and they're paying their taxes and they're getting screwed by the man like everybody else, and they stop thinking with the uniform that they're wearing, then we win. I mean, period. Like we win. So I don't know. I trust. I live my life with a lot of trust in myself and trust of my. I really am actively trying to think from my heart rather than from my brain, right? And I feel like you can't necessarily go wrong when you're in that boat. And if somehow the government wants to take me out, would be really unfortunate for me and for a lot of people. But I don't think that way. I mean, I just can't allow that thought to be in my consciousness, because I feel like I'm doing the right thing, and that's that.
Yeah, you're right. There's Larkin Rose. I don't know if you follow any of his stuff.
I like Mark and Rose.
Yeah, he makes some awesome videos. And one of my favorite lines of his is, I'm not afraid of the Maos, of the Stalins, or the Hitlers, right? Because they directly, they don't kill many people, right? It's only the order followers, right? The people that work under them, do their bidding, and respect them as authority or near godlike deity status,
Yeah.
and kill millions of people in the name of government, right? Those are the people committing the true atrocities that we read about in the history books. Those are the people that are misguided, that think that they're defending freedom or spreading democracy or
Yeah, and granted, like everything I just said, I mean, it's no simple task. Obviously, like getting through them, and then you can see it playing out. It's almost like a script being written, right? Like you have these things like Ferguson or the Trayvon Martin case. The media really, really pumps life into these stories to really make it seem like it's all racism, like it's a white cop versus a black guy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not. I mean, it's the police state versus the people. But they're wanting us to think it's racism, so that we end up getting really mad at the cops. But the cops are just carrying out their orders, so they're just furthering the gap between the cops and the people. So that's very challenging, but you can see their intention when they do stuff like that. You can see them trying to so then the cops are on the defensive, right? The cops are more afraid of the people are more afraid of the cops and more angry at the cops. So we have to, I don't know, I don't really know how to solve that problem, but it is very important to deal with the police with love and be gentle and not call them the enemies, because they're just, like you said, carrying out their orders.
Yeah, yeah. The phrase or the sentence "just doing my job" is one of the most dangerous phrases in the history of the world. How many atrocities has been committed with the excuse of just doing my job, all right?
Right, and this police state is so scary. I mean, they want us to be so afraid of Islamic extremists and terrorism and Muslims in general. Meanwhile, you're about what 1,000 times more likely to get killed by a police officer in your neighborhood than you are by a terrorist. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A Muslim like an ocean away, with sandals is supposed to be more frightening than a police officer here that, can disarm you at will, can club you, can tase you, can cage you, can even confiscate your property, enter your property without your, consent. And I don't know if you heard about civil asset forfeiture, but that's another really nasty method of confiscation of home or of cars. Just and that's related to the war on drugs, right? Just with any suspicion of drug-related activities or possession, the police can come and basically evict the people from their home. Doesn't matter if they paid off their mortgage after decades of hard work, right? They just evict the people, and all of a sudden, you're fighting to keep your house that you paid off.
Yeah, the game is rigged.
Yeah, yeah. So it's you're right. It's not an easy task for us, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about what we are trying to do is that it's something that's so difficult, which is one of the reasons why so few people venture down this path, and all the people that have died, pursuing. Like I see, there's a picture of John Lennon. Is that John Lennon back there?
Oh yeah, John
Yeah,
Lennon. Yeah,
right.
right.
Some of the people
Yeah,
that have died
yes,
died like just promoting peace, in the world. Like how revolutionary is that? Peace and love, right?
right. He had influence, and
You,
they took him out.
I mean, it's scary, but then again, I'm not really afraid because I consider myself a small time person. Like, why would they target me? And if the government doesn't really have resources to target all the people that are trying to be truth telling or activists. So the way I look at it, they target the high profile. There's many people that don't pay their taxes, but not all of them get um, jailed or caged, right? But Wesley Snipes did, right? And he's a
Yeah,
big name. So when you tell people about taxation as theft, and that we should, why are we paying that, right? And they say, well, you're gonna go to jail. But look at Wesley Snipes.
yeah, yeah,
But they just don't have the resources. That's the thing. That's the thing people realize. It's the government is largely it's a hologram. It's an illusion.
yep.
It's like the Wizard of Oz, right? Behind his pyrotechnics is just an old man pushing levers and pushing buttons.
Exactly what it is. Yep.
It's just twisted old men. So
And I mean, look at them. I mean, they're not happy people. Like these old crusty bankers and whatnot. I mean, they look like they're dying from the inside out. Like their skin is hanging off their bones. They look like miserable cretins. Like they are not happy. It doesn't matter how much wealth they're sitting on or how much they've obtained or how much they're screwing the people. Like they're wearing it in the way they look. Like they are not happy. They are evil, evil beings, psychopaths, if you will.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, to think that people that the government will willingly limit itself. I think that's one of the delusions that a lot of minarchists have is that we're just going to vote. We're just going to vote for the government to to vote itself into oblivion, into irrelevancy.
Hmm. I don't even know what that means.
How would that happen? Do you think the government would provide resources to delete itself? Of course not. Why would it do that?
Right.
Historically, every government expands, 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 and robs the people of their wealth and of their productivity until the people can support it no longer, and they just refuse to fund it, refuse to participate, and that's it. The game is over, like you said, right?
Over. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Totally.
So yes, I just I'm really I'm optimistic. I went through my phase of pessimism and darkness, and now I remain optimistic. I just try to talk to people, as many people as I can when I meet them on the street.
Yeah.
Although I don't call myself like I said, I don't call myself labels an anarchist or anything, but I definitely try to spark up conversation and get people to think, ask questions. Because
Absolutely. Yeah.
you want people to go home and you plant the seed in their mind, right? And hopefully they're going to take that. It's going to become something significant in their mind.
Oh, that's the hope. Yeah.
That's what you guys are trying to do with your videos, right? plant the seed.
Yeah, yeah, we're trying. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, we're just trying to serve it up on a platter. We're not trying to tell you how to think. We're just calling attention to something that people are afraid to call attention to, and present it in a way that's digestible and can offer an opening for someone to do their own research and come up with their own conclusions.
Awesome. So, all right. So I don't want to take up any of your time, any more of your time. So, why don't you let people know how they can reach you, your work, how
Sure.
they can reach you?
Yeah, yeah. Our channel is on YouTube. It's youtube.com/thejoycamp. Our website is www.thejoycamp.com. And you can like us on Facebook. We post rather regularly. And we have a Twitter at the Joy Camp. And you can also get in touch with me. I mean, our email address, we respond to every personal email we get, or we try to anyway, at thejoycamp@gmail.com. And you can talk to me on Facebook. I'm easy to reach. I'm a nice guy, you know. Don't be shy. Huh?
Single white male, right?
Oh, I'm single, you know,
Nice.
straight, but I'm single. If you haven't watched our videos yet, please, I implore you to watch our videos. And, you know, oh, you can also donate to our cause, which is very important because we are doing everything on a shoestring budget. So if you want to throw if you like what we do and you want to throw a couple dollars our way, every dollar we get goes towards production, not in our pockets. And if you like our videos, please share them. That's the most important thing. Share them with your friends. If you like them, that's one thing, but like them and pass them on. I mean, that's what we're doing it for. We're doing it to spread the word. We don't want to just be the outlet for people who are already awake to have a laugh and then go back to their lives. We want people to use these videos to bridge the gap with those who are not awake yet. So please share the videos. You'll see people responding. I promise.
Awesome. Do you guys accept Bitcoin?
You know, we don't yet. And after going to this anarchist festival in Acapulco, I think it's time we looked into it because there seems to be a real big movement in that direction, and we would be wise to get on the bandwagon. But not yet. The answer's not yet, but yes, soon.
Tell me about Anarchapulco. I'm curious to hear about it.
It was a blast. It was incredible, actually. I mean, I unfortunately got food poisoning for a couple of days, so I was out of commission 2 days every week. But that aside,
that sucked.
It was great. I mean, I got to hang out with like Luke Rudowski, who is a friend of mine. So seeing him was great. I collaborated in a couple of videos with him and Dan Dix of Press for Change, and is it Press for Change? Press for Truth.
Press for Truth, yeah.
And James Corbett of the Corbett Report. And then a lot of really good people. And it was actually really validating to have so many people come up to me who were familiar with Joy Camp and thank me for the work, because it's, you know, sometimes you don't feel like anybody's seeing it. Because I'm just sitting here in LA in my apartment and putting videos out there and not knowing who they're reaching. So to see firsthand that people are really being affected by it in a positive way and responding to it was significant, and it gave me a lot of fuel to keep going. So all in all, it was just a great experience. I'm very grateful to the people who enabled my trip, because I didn't pay for it. So people who thought I should be there brought me out there, which I have so much gratitude for. And it was just it was a great week with a lot of really great people from all over the world. And we collaborated on a video. I produced a video out there that I think is going to be possibly our most profound video to date. I produced something out there that I'm so proud of, and I used a lot of people were involved. Maybe like 40 people or so were interested in being involved with it, and I just think it's going to be amazing. So I'll let you know when that comes out, hopefully within the next month or so. But yeah, all in all, great experience. They said they're going to do it again, and I'd love to go back.
Awesome. Yeah. Just to go back to your point, positive feedback from listeners is really a great encouragement for continuing work, you know, that we do, right? Because you're right, you don't know who's listening or who's reading, you know, the blogs or the articles, right? And to hear people say, you know, I read your stuff, I really liked it.
Yeah, it's very validating, because, you know, being one of the awake ones, I mean, not to sound like an elitist or anything, but it can be lonely sometimes because you feel like you're just surrounded by people who don't get it. So to be in an environment where everybody gets it and everybody also appreciates the work that you've been putting out there for 3 years, it's a very gratifying and humbling also feeling. I mean, it's beautiful, and I'm so happy that I went.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so can you give a small message to my listeners, like before we sign off? Any anything that comes to mind that you would like them to hear?
Sure. Well, I did a speech at Anarchapulco that I called "You Are the Cure," and that was the theme of my speech. And like I was saying before, the change starts with you. That's my message. The change starts with you. Be mindful of your decisions and be kind to the people you meet, because we're all in this together. And we must heal ourselves. If you want to heal the world, you have to heal yourself. So every time you reach for a Big Mac and you have that little voice in your head that's like, screw it. That's the system winning. Just remember that. So be mindful, be strong, have willpower. Get that system out of your system. You are the cure.
Yeah, we need a philosophical detox, right?
We need a lot of detox.
Yeah.
We're infected with this. It runs deep. I mean, it's a rarely complex, intricate system that's been affecting us from day one in our lives and our parents' lives from day one. So it's thorough. So just stay diligent, stay active, don't give up, and just keep healing yourself, healing your body. As within, so without. If you want to change the world, you must be willing to change yourself. That's
Awesome.
my message to people.
Well said. Yeah, I tell people, right after we finish 12 years of indoctrination in public schools, that's when the process starts of expelling the statist excrement, intellectual excrement from our brains.
Right. The residue.
So, and also I think Voltaire said it well when he said, if you want to change the world, first tend to your own garden. Right?
Absolutely. Exactly.
It always starts with the individual, right?
Exactly.
Always.
Yep.
Well, awesome.
And do something, and then do something with the information. If you think that you're funny and you could be funnier than us, by all means, do it. Like, do it. Just do something. Do it. Do something. That's my other advice. Do something.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the internet, right? Anybody can be, can put their content out there for people to see, right?
Yep.
And I wonder how much longer that ability is going to stay now that there's net neutrality passed, right?
We're gonna get it. It'll stay. Yeah, no, we're gonna keep going. They can't shut us down at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
it's too strong.
I'm hoping that these, unelected old men, who just passed these ridiculous legislation, which I think harbors back, it goes back to like 1934 Telecommunications Act. They're like linking the internet with the telephone. So it's completely outdated, but yeah. Awesome, Benny. Thank you very much for the conversation.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. So this is Peaceful Anarchism on the Voluntary Virtues Network and the Conscious Resistance YouTube channel. Wishing all of you have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.